Welcome to Philadelphia. From this vantage point it appears picturesque and peaceful, but upon closer observation there's a moral decay that's eating away at its very social fabric and causing an increase in violence and bad behavior.
All right, what we gonna do? I see you drop $5 there. What we gonna do?
You know what we're gonna do?
Well, let's do this like Brutus. Let's do this.
Come on, here you go. Here you go.
Come on.
It's for your mother, nigga.
Whoa. Okay, you talking about mommy? Come on, give me them. Give me them. Give me them.
Ain't no smoke, man.
Come on.
Ain't no smoke. Here we go again, man. Here we go again.
Come on.
For your mother and your sister.
Give me them. Why? That's mom's sister. Give me them.
I got two on
Nah, I just called them. You gonna call these next one, okay?
Roll these dice.
But roll them then. Do what you gotta do as a man.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay?
It's for your mother and your sister, nigga.
Oh, man, hold. We talked about mom, sister stuff. I told you, keep my people out your mouth. Hold up, man. I'm not. But you take it personally, sis.
Not home, we got home.
I'm playing, man. Come on, yo. I'm good. Hey, yo, I'm good.
I got my homie right here.
I'm little brother. I'm not you for everything.
Oh, man, little brother. Oh, this our course. Playing.
We got cheese.
You can't play. Look at him. I show him. Let him play. Let him give him a shot. He said he's not playing so well.
Motherfucker, all you do is sit on the sofa from morning to night playing them goddamn video games and smoking that shit. The baby needs diapers, baby needs milk, baby needs shoes, and you ain't doing nothing to help me in this household. And you gonna ask me what time I'm gonna be back? Man, get the fuck out my face.
Basically, I was born in West Philly at 46 and Brown in the projects. I lived in West Philly for a few years, and then we eventually moved to Mount Airy. Coming up, I didn't know my biological father. My stepfather was in my life, even so today. He's more of a father than my father was. When we moved to Mount Airy, I was about 12 or 13 years old. I basically started hanging with people that were older than I was, and at that point, I was a follower. I winded up getting hooked on drugs, smoking cigarettes. I started with smoking cigarettes, then with smoking marijuana. I smoked all types of marijuana. All types of pills. I did all types of pills, pink footballs, yellow jackets, Quaaludes, black beauties, all types of, again, marijuana, opium, hashish, acid, crank, heroin, you name it, I did it, and plus drank alcohol. I made a lot of bad choices. I sold drugs during this time. I never tried to learn in school. I always had bad grades. You know, my teachers would say that I had the potential, and I realized today that I did have the potential, but I never really tried. I just made a lot of bad choices. I had a therapist that used to come to the house for me. I did get left back in school. I went to Germantown High School. I got left back a year. Then I wound up going to an alternative school and eventually going to a private school, Rittenhouse Academy, where I got put back up. But even in this school, I did the same thing, hooky parties, smoking weed, getting high, selling drugs. By the age of 18, I was smoking crack cocaine.
My story, I'm going to tell you how I got delivered from being a gangster. I was born in New York City, in Harlem, New York, and raised in the South Bronx. When I was a kid, I was very sickly, you know. And I missed a lot of days of school. So then after that, I couldn't seem to catch up. It seemed like, you know, I got tired of kids laughing at me and calling me names, so I started hanging out on the street, not knowing what it was going to lead up to. Now, my mom thought I was going to school. Johnny, what you learn today, I'll make up something that I thought that she would believe. And then eventually, it led up to me hanging out with guys who was just like me. Wasn't going to school, lying to their mother and father, being disobedient after I would leave the house. I wasn't that, you couldn't tell me that I was stealing or anything like that. But when I would leave the house, you know, when I would get in the streets with my friends, then I started, you know, acting up, stealing and stuff. So by me doing this, I wound up, as years went on, I wound up doing things that got me caught and sent to reform school. So at the age of 11, I went to New Hampton State Reformatory up in New York, upstate New York. So now, you know, you go to school in the morning, work on the farm in the afternoon. So, you know, I'm getting real aggressive, and I was hating white people for the way they was treating me, and I had that concept with, you know, with the thug life, right? So when I get released in '69, I started using heroin, you know, and in the process of me using heroin, I got strung out. We were going to supermarket. They call it cattle rustling in New York, stealing steaks and things like that. And so I get busted for armed robbery. We used to call it rushing the crib in the South Bronx. We follow an old white lady and rush them into the crib and have it at, you know, tie them up and search their house and find a stash. You know, we got good at that. I mean, it was a thing in the Bronx where there used to be white people living in our projects, and after we got done, it hardly was none. You know, I didn't even see no squirrels, nothing fly, you know, climbing the trees and nothing no more.
There are many names for money: bank, Benjamins, dead presidents and bread, cabbage, cheddar, dough, filthy lucre got me tossing and turning in my bed. Plotting, scheming, hustling to get more money, that fast money, that's what I implore. Selling drugs, carrying guns, man, I thought that was fun. Fast money took my father, my brother, and my son. I should have listened to my mom. She used to say money is the root of all sorts of evil. But Mom, I love the shop. I run the block. I don't care about the cops. Oh no, pop, pop, pop. Now it's too late. Fast money, locked behind a gate.
I saw myself going down the wrong path. I mean, I already was on the wrong track, but I saw myself going back to using. Even though I was selling, I was carrying guns, I was not using, but I was still in that circle. So I actually saw myself to going back, and it was a lot of different things that came in my life. You know, I call it a divine intervention, like God intervened and saved me from my stupidity, saved me from myself. And it was different things that happened. One time I got pulled over, me and my buddy, and we had several guns in the car, and we both got locked up, and he wound up going to jail. I didn't go to jail. And I had two guns. I was driving the car. I ran the red light. I didn't have any documentation as far as a license, insurance, registration, and this man went to jail, and I got off, you know what I mean? It was like God was showing me then, you know, that I'm with you, you know. And I had another incident where I got stuck up right across from the projects that I was born in. I got stuck up. Somebody ran up on me while I was on a payphone, took my jewelry, stripped me, And it was like God was speaking to me then. In my heart, all I could think of was, tell them you got kids, tell them you got kids, tell them you got kids. Until that actually came out of my mouth. And the guy stopped. It was two guys. And the guy stopped searching my pockets and everything and said, you got kids? And I said, yeah. He pulled out my wallet, opened it up to my kids, and said, you know what, you lucky, run. You know, and I ran, and it's just like God was telling me, you know, I mean, I drove home that night, didn't even have no glasses on, went home, you know, I felt stripped. I didn't have any weapons. And like these weapons were my God. It's like these weapons were my God. I would go to the firing range. I would always constantly clean them. If somebody came over my house, I was constantly showing them off. I mean, I would go again to the range, practice accuracy. It's like these things were my God. It's like he was showing me, you know, that I stripped you from this. Like, you didn't even have these guns and you were still protected. And it's like I went home and I just fell out on my knees, you know what I mean? And again, it's like I had this spiritual awakening. And I took these guns and I went into my garage and I laid them out on the floor. And I took a hammer because it was like my relationship with him, you know what I mean, was more powerful than these guns were. And I laid them all out on the floor and I took a hammer and I destroyed each one of them. And I duct taped them up and put them in different dumpsters around the city. And I remember telling my friends and family, and everybody thought I was crazy, you know what I mean? I was even actually, I even owed on my mortgage at this time, right? I was like back. And I could have took even one of them guns and paid my mortgage. But it was like those guns were not as important as my life was. You know what I mean? And how could I take something that almost killed me or was detrimental to me rather and give it to somebody else? So again, I just destroyed them. It felt like the same way it felt when I left the drugs alone. It felt like a weight just lifted off of me. It felt like I was free, you know what I mean? And, you know, I felt myself going to hurt somebody, you know, with them guns. I felt that I was just leaded to destruction, you know what I mean? That I was going to do some time, that somebody was going to get hurt, that I was going to get booked or whatever. I felt that in my spirit. So it's like, again, God just let me away from that. You know what I mean? Today, I'm helping people. I'm giving back. You know, I'm a minister at my church. I reach out to people. Even when I got clean, I would go out to different drug corners and, you know, let people know, listen, man, I've been where you're at. You know what I mean? If you want to get into a program, I can help you. I pulled a lot of prostitutes off the street out of Huntington Park. I do a lot in the community. I actually work at a shelter right now, community relations liaison for them, you know, bringing in information that would help people become economically empowered and self-sufficient. And I just dedicate my life back to helping people. I mean, my life was going down a road of destruction. You know, I know today that I would still be drug addicted or dead. Well, I believe actually that I would be dead. You know, if I continue to live the lifestyle that I was living, that I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. So I just encourage individuals that are out there to just, you know, put it down. I mean, there is another way, you know. Thank you.
2 days. I had money, I had women, I had 14 kids. I mean, I had, everything was good, but I had a void in my life, man. And the void was, I said, if it's a God, I mean, you got to understand, I was tired. I was tired of all the killing, all the money, all the females. You know, everybody wanted me. It was just like the one young boy said in church. It was about the Benjamins. They wanted, you know, they wanted the money. They didn't want John Wyatt. You know, so it came to a point. I said, man, what is my life gonna turn out? How they gonna kill me? You know, 'cause we robbing, I mean, from Baltimore to, you know, they shot my man up 30 times, and you know, things out in Baltimore and DC, you know, we left, you know, things happen, man, and I just got tired, man. I said, man, you know, I had my vest on. I was tired of wearing a vest in the hot sun. I'm boiling down. You know, I had a sore right here where I kept my guy at. You know, I said, man. So I said, God, if it's true who they say you are, I said, I'm tired. I want to know you. So then, by me saying that, 2 months went by. My cousin wanted to borrow my Tech 9 for robbery. So the robbery took place, but it took too long to see what was going on. I said, you ain't finished. And so I goes back in the house. He robs a person. The man shoots in it, and the people see him in the house. And the police came in there and said, so he said, is this a man? And he said, no. So in the process, I goes in the room and finish watching TV. He comes back and he found out who I was. So he comes back and he says, we placing you on arrest. I told him, I didn't rob that man. I said, now you know who I am. So, you know, I'm against the law. I rob drug dealers and stuff like that. So he takes me in. I said, go ahead and do your paperwork, because I ain't got no rap for you, man. Go ahead and do your work. So they ride in the van all crazy, you know, me in the back, stepping on the brakes for, you know. So I get to the 35th district, and they takes me in there. So I goes in front of Judge Garino, and that was a hangman judge, 443. Now, blue trial on an armed robbery that I was supposed to get 66 years. So in the process of me facing that, I was in they put me in Holmberg prison. It's Holmberg prison like a baby Rackete's. So I goes in Holmesburg, and when I went in there, I felt the air of evilness, man. I felt, you know, demonic spirits in there. So I'm sitting down, you know, and I was on A block. So I'm sitting down, and I met all the thugs in Philly. That was in this is in '91. So I said, man, they gonna root me out. A blue trial. You know, my man got 112 years of life in New York. My other man got busted in California. He got 25. He got 25 years. And my hair started coming out. You know, and so I goes down I said, all right. I said, you talking about this Jesus cat? So I said, okay, I'm gonna see what he's about. So they called church service. I goes down there. So it was this old gangster named Brother Worry, this big dude, man, from North Philly. One thing about Philly, y'all geographical. West Philly against North, North against South, and all that. So he was down there, and he said, is it anybody want to accept Christ? Well, I was thinking, I said, man, I asked God. So I started putting two and two together, and so, you know, I said, yeah. I said, it takes a man to accept God. I didn't care who. By this time, I'm facing 66 years. Judge Garino, I heard about him. 443. I'll never forget this. 443, Judge Garino. I'm getting 66 years in one state. They got me on investigation from 3 other states. So I'm telling you, I was smoking butts off. I was, man, rolling up butt. Man, I'm gonna die in jail, you know. My man has got 1,212 to life. Other one 25, 26. So they got me. So, and I ain't tell neither. Boy, that's when you find out who, you know, if you can take it, boy. So anyway, to make a long story short, I accepted him, and when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I don't care what nobody say, how you take it. I'm telling you what worked for me. When I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, there was a change. I felt the presence of the Holy Spirit come upon me, just rest on me. And I started crying. I started thinking about all the people we done did something, but to, and people didn't get a chance to, So I seen God work. I was in Holmesburg. I was only that captain in from New York. I had favor. I didn't know how to read and write. He gave me a Bible that I could read. I repented for my sins. And it's been a process from 1991. When I went to Camp Hill, from Camp Hill to Mondoid, he gave me favor with the only inmate in there. I was witnessing the Penn State college students. I made it out in 4 years. And then put me on Broad and Gerard. And then I mean, it was a process, and I never turned back, because how he brought me out of all that madness, that sickness, man, that cancer. So it was just a lot of I think about the things that I did and the lives that was taken, and I repented from that. And now, me and my wife, we go inside the jails and tell them young boys the real deal. And that's the truth. Been there and done that. You can get money, but there's a void in life. And it's easy to pull a trigger. But it's hard, man. You can turn that off now.
My name is Maurice Dobbs. I want to tell you a story. I was on the road to quick fame and fortune, stacking, always packing, getting money, having a ball, never even thinking about taking a fall. Plenty of women, always ragging, I ain't bragging, stayed high, there ain't no lie. On my way to the top, baby. One day my boys pulled up. I jumped in the wheel and they drove over the hill. The driver named Reaper pulled the Bentley over gently and said, "There's been a change in plans. This is your last stop, Maurice Dobbs."
My name is Abdul Kohir. I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. Just a little brief background about myself. Growing up, I've always had a temper. Even as a little kid, I couldn't get my way. My mom used to have a wall filled with mirrors, and I would go ahead and start kicking the mirrors and everything, breaking the mirrors. And when it got to the point where my leg couldn't get high enough to get those mirrors, I used to go ahead and start punching them. So even as a young kid, I had a real bad temper. I had a nasty disposition. Sometimes my father was around, sometimes he wasn't, depending on his mood. I can go for years without seeing him, and then just happen to go to the store one day and run into him inside the store. So even early on, being young, I was starting to encounter problems. Started getting kicked out of school, starting from Head Start. Head Start, I feeding a duck. Duck bit me, I choked the duck, they kicked me out. So, and as I got older and started growing up, things really didn't change too much. In fact, it started getting worse. I got into martial arts, started taking martial arts, and the more I've learned, the more confident that I was in myself, and the more arrogant I became. Getting into a lot of fights. Some fights I didn't start, but I was the last person to run from a fight. I would never run from it. I would never try to back down. I started my own little clique, hanging around with older heads and everything, people older than me, out here running the streets, doing drugs, fighting, and all kinds of other various things that weren't positive. Had a few run-ins with the law, all violent crimes. Out here fighting, various different assaults, stick-ups, and things of this nature. At the same time, I've always called myself trying to do positive things and improve myself. Like I was always going to school to try to further my education. I started cooking at a young age. I started going to culinary school. But these things didn't keep me from running the streets. You know, my whole thing was I didn't want to spend my money, even though I was working. I wanted to spend your money. So this is what I did. I could have a pocket full of money, but I would stick you up for your money. You know, why spend mine so I could spend yours? So this was the progression or regression that I was going through. And it got to the point to whereas eventually one of the fights that I got into, whereas even though I tried to walk away from it, and I could have because I knew this guy, he had no win. But the position that he had put me in, where I had to fight my way out, led me to being incarcerated. And this time it took me from doing little county bids, a couple of months here, a couple of months there. Now I was looking at some years. You know, I was looking at some years. All from something that I could have, 9 times out of 10 when I think back about it, I could have easily, you know, walked away from. But it was just a situation that I was in had really, for the most part, pissed me off. You know, so when I hit this guy, I think that all the anger that I had in me, you know, came out in this punch. And the end result was we were on the 2nd floor. The guy went out the window. You know, he went out the window. I ran. His brother was a cop. I got caught. Police beat me down. Bust bottles on my head and everything. And this was really for me the turning point. You know, because now when I'm sitting in the county, which I sat in the county for well over a year, just before I was even indicted, before I seen any judge, before I went to any bail hearing, any status conference, I was in the county for over a year just sitting there. And it was during that time, well even before then, I had became Muslim, but I really wasn't into it. I wasn't really into learning the religion. I thought that just me saying that I was Muslim was enough. You know, nothing changed about my attitude. Nothing changed about my character. You know, nothing changed. Just pretty much nothing changed. I'm still running the streets. I'm still fighting. I'm shooting at people. People shooting at me. I hit a few. You know, I got hit a couple. And even then, those wasn't really wake-up calls for me. You know, I was still feeling as I was invincible or I had something to prove. A lot of vendettas against me, a lot of vendettas against other people, you know, putting contracts out on each other, and it was just a whole ball that was just spinning, rolling down the hill and just gathering up speed, building momentum, until it got to the point it got so big everything just exploded. So, and it was during this time when I was sitting in the county, I realized that I can't keep going this way. You know, I already have one son out there, and he needs to know his father. I need to be around, you know, so that I can know him. And it was at this time that I realized that in order for this to happen, there was going to be some changes that has to be made about myself. You know, at a young age, my mother and my pop, when he was around, always told me that I was going to end up dead or incarcerated. You know, so now sitting here incarcerated, the only next thing for me is, since I've been through the incarceration part, was death. Me personally, that didn't sit too well with me. I wasn't ready for death yet. So I realized there was a few things that I had to change about myself. One of them was my attitude, 2 was my disposition, and 3, which was actually number 1, was my temper. You know, my temper was nasty. You know, my temper was to the point to whereas some would call it crazy. I could be sitting on the porch in the summertime, trying to keep cool. You know, I might have been smoking some weed, drinking 40 ounce, trying to stay cool. Nothing but a white beater on, a pair of shorts. I see a guy walking down the street with a long sleeve shirt and a pair of jeans on. This would piss me off. Next thing you know, he's getting the beat down and he doesn't even know why. You know, so I realized it was these things that I couldn't continue to do. But I also realized that this was something that I couldn't do on my own. You know, so like I say, by this time, you know, I had already became Muslim, and I felt that it was time for me to start trying to learn. You know, pick up the Quran, start reading the Quran. Stop listening to what people were telling me and taking it for face value, but to actually start doing research on my own. You know, start actually trying to surround myself with people that would be beneficial to me. You know, as far as knowledge-wise, goals, you know, they're trying to reach and achieve the same things that I was trying to achieve also. You know, because it's detrimental to a person, whereas if you're trying to make a drastic change in your life, to still keep surrounding yourself by the same negative people. You know, when they say that you have to change people, places, and things, and to actually believe that, you know, this is something that is true. You know, I need to change people, places, and things. I need to change my attitude, my disposition, you know, and get control of my temper. So I got into my studies. I started reading more. Started going to classes, you know, trying to learn more about my religion. I wanted to learn the language, the Arabic language. I started studying the Arabic language. You know, I've done all of this while I was being institutionalized. And it got myself to the point to whereas not only was I learning the Arabic, you know, but I ended up teaching it. You know, these classes that I started attending, I started teaching these classes. In the institution, you know, I became the residential Amir. And during this phase, you know, I would give the talks on Fridays, you know, which we call the khutbah. I used to give this on Fridays. And started trying to be more beneficial and be a benefit to the people. And I wanted to go ahead and start doing these things and get myself in that habit now and that mindset now, to whereas when I came out, I can go ahead and continue doing these things and be have a positive impact on the community. You know, like I said, I've raised enough hell in my life. I've hurt enough people in my life. You know, and these are things that I didn't want to continue to do. You know I couldn't take back any of the things that I've done. What's done is done. You know, but what I could do is put a stop to it from that point on, to where I didn't continue to keep doing these things. So when I came home, of course, and it's hard. It's hard when you're trying to make change. You know, because you have so many people that's against you. The old crew you used to roll with, they're trying to drag you back out here. You know, I come home from prison 6 years later, you know, I run into these people that I used to roll with, they still doing the same thing. They've shown no change, no growth. You know, we still out here gang banging, they still out here gang banging, hustling, selling drugs, fighting, shooting, robbing. You know, the whole time that I'm going, they've shown no change, no growth. You know, so why would I want to keep hanging with these people if I'm trying to do the opposite? I'm trying to go the opposite way. You know, our paths are no longer the same. You know, so you find a lot of opposition. You have some people, when you come home, you know, they see that when you embrace your religion, rather be Islam, rather be Christianity, you know, the first thing they want to try to label you as is a jailhouse Muslim, a jailhouse Christian. You know, they want to see your downfall. They expect that once you get home, now that you're home and you're no longer locked up, you're going to go back into doing the same things that you used to do. When I was locked up, I come across people talk about, oh yeah, I ain't got nothing but a 3 with a 1. I can do that on my head. This is a skid bid. You know, I got another bid left in me. I got 2 more bids left in me. I mean, for me, making that change from going from the county to catching the state bid, I didn't have any more in me. You know, that one right there, that was it for me. You know, Jersey, they hit me that 85% ball. You know, so, and that was enough for me to wake me up and to realize that I can't keep doing these same things. My mind was already made up what I need to do. You know, and that I need to try to be, regardless whether I'm Christian, Muslim, whatever it is that I choose to try to be the best at it. You know, everything is always about self-improvement. Each day I wake up and I say to myself, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? How can I be more productive today than I was yesterday? So this is the progression that I'm going through, and it's a struggle. I still go through it. You know, I came home in 2004. I ended parole in 2007. Here it is, 2013, and I still struggle every day with, you know, being patient. You know, I still struggle every day with keeping my temper in check. You know, I still struggle every day with, you know, doing positive things. You know, because it's so much easier, that fast money. That fast money is so much easier. You know, but in the long run, you know, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? You know, and when everything has come crashing down, what is it that you're willing to exchange for this fast money? You know, are you willing to exchange your freedom, you know, for this money that's not going to be around for you? You know, it's not going to have you for bail money, lawyer money, you know, it's just quick money for here and now. You know, how was this fast money that I obtained out here, you know, hurting others? How was this money going to benefit me once I die? I can't take it with me, you know. So, and these are some of the factors that come into play every time where I go through a neighborhood and I say to myself, wow, I can make a killing here, you know. But in the long run, what is it that I'm willing to sacrifice to make this happen? You know, and my answer for this is I'm not willing to sacrifice anything, you know, because what I'm doing now, what I'm trying to do, and my end goal is way more important than this quick buck that I can make out here. You know, it's not worth it. It's not a fair exchange. It's not a fair exchange. You know, so when I came home, of course, now being a convicted felon, jobs is hard. Nobody wants to hire you. You know, so I had ended up getting a lot of jobs under the table. One of the jobs that I had was I started working for an escort service. One day they needed somebody for security. You know, so I became a security guy for an escort company, seeing how they were doing their business, you know, or lack of business. I had ended up opening up my own escort company. And I tried to justify it, knowing it was wrong, but I tried to justify it as, well, at least I'm not out here selling drugs. You know, and at least I'm still going out here to the masjid every day. You know, and not really keeping in mind that I'm out here, no matter how you look at it, I'm out here prostituting women. You see, and after a while, this was another wake-up call for me. You know, my little conscience, that little voice you hear in the back of your head, this is your conscience telling you, letting you know right from wrong. You know, and a lot of times we get to start ignoring this so much to the point whereas we no longer even hear our conscience. It's not even a thought in the back of our head, you know, because we done hardened our heart and became so hard-headed and so thick-skinned, you know. But it came to the point whereas this started eating away at my conscience. You know, I have kids out here, you know, by this time I done went from having one son to having 3 boys. You know, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, what if I have a girl? You know, what would I think if one day my daughter comes to me or I found out that she's working for an escort company? How I would feel. You know, and the parents of these daughters that I'm out here prostituting. You know, I had some of them as young as 18. You know, at least I thought they were at least 18. You know, because anybody could fake an ID. You know, so what I ended up doing was I shut that company down. I got back into the restaurants, which is something I've been doing all of my life pretty much anyway. I got back into the restaurants and I started trying to get these ladies, these women that was working as escorts for me, they had no marketable skills. you know, and I try to persuade them from that life of prostitution. Some listened, some didn't. Those who did listen, even though they had no marketable skills, I hired them. You know, I ended up being, you know, starting off with restaurants like Burger King. You know, I had a history with them from when I was a kid, so they had no problem moving me up into management, promoting me into management, and giving me the power to hire my own team. You know, so a lot of these women that I've had that had no marketable skills, I've hired them up, you know, and it's all about giving back. So I hired them, I've trained them, and even though I'm no longer with that company, it's some of these women that even today, they're general managers now. You know, they're regional managers now. You know, a lot of them stuck with the company, and they've done pretty well. You know, and it's things like this that makes me feel even better. You know, when I was able to affect change like this and to help people like this in a positive way, you know, than I did, you know, versus me running my escort company and building up my clientele that way, you know, to have these women get more clientele for them that way to put more money in their pocket. You know, it felt better to see that I was able to affect change, you know, positive change in their life, get them out of that lifestyle. And some people may ask, well, Burger King, fast food restaurant, you know, this is something for kids or college students and things of this nature. But the whole thing is, when you're trying to affect positive change, there is no such thing as pride. You know, there is no such thing as pride, and you learn how to humble yourself. And even if you have to start off with something like fast food, you know, it's honest money. It's honest money, you know, and it's better for you in the long run. You know, so if I can say anything, you know, out here to anybody as far as advice and everything, first you have to make up in your mind that you want to be a positive person and implement an effective change. But this is things that you have to start within yourself. You know, you have to start within yourself and implement this in yourself before you can be any type of an impact, you know, to any other people. And you realize that from the things you've done out here in the streets to negatively to the positive things you're doing out here in the streets, how good it makes you feel. How good it makes you feel to be able to cause positive impact, you know, amongst people and the change that you're able to cause. It's the best feeling in the world.
We'll be right back.